Countdown is down to 2 days. 2 days until Chargers rookies report. We got some burning questions. Let's start with you, Kevin. What's your burning question for this hour?
Is Aaron Rodgers washed? He had one of the lowest average depth of targets in his career last year. He got rid of the ball really quickly. He understands his limitations, but are we confusing understanding your limitations with not being able to do anything you did during your MVP campaign, Bill Barnwell?
Yeah, I'm always thinking about how self-aware Aaron Rodgers is. It's the first word I would use. Unfortunately, Aaron Rodgers is 41 years old. I am also 41 years old. I know you wake up and just your neck, your legs don't work anymore, unfortunately. He is 25th in QBR, 26th in QBR 2 of the last 3 years. The other year he tore his Achilles and missed the entire season. I just don't see how he's going to get better, and I think they need to be better for the Steelers to make it to the playoff run.
I'll do you a favor and not mention what happens when you're 51. Neek, what's your burning question?
I mean, are the Chiefs still the big brothers of the AFC? I think that last year we saw them kind of struggle through the regular season, as much as a struggle can be for a team that won as many games as they did, and then in the Super Bowl get completely dominated. So it'll be interesting to see when they come into this season how well or how big the gap is between them and the rest of the AFC contenders, and if there's a different way that these teams start to look at and approach games against Patrick Mahomes and the previously unstoppable AFC juggernaut that is the Chiefs.
Yeah, I think they got big brothers themselves during the Super Bowl. There was a lot of why you're hitting yourself with the Chiefs offensive line and Patrick Mahomes. So I know that you can't copy necessarily what the Eagles have up front, but this is a Chiefs team that is really rebuilding their offensive line at left tackle, at left guard. They might have guys who have one career combined start at those positions, depending on how the training camp situation works out. So most valuable player in sports to me is Patrick Mahomes, being protected by a very inexperienced left side of that line. I think I'd say way for other teams, if they play their pass rushers, which the Bengals are not, a way for them to try and attack the Chiefs and kind of make them a little closer in the AFC.
Yeah, we'll see. That division looks like it's getting tougher and tougher. I have a burning question. Yes, and it's when should the Giants start Jackson Dart? First round pick. I know they brought in Russell Wilson. They brought in Jameis Winston. They want to give Dart as much time as they possibly can. But, we've seen the last couple of years of Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, and it doesn't seem like that's really what you're after if you're trying to win, which I think this Giants regime, I can't even talk, is trying to win because they are probably under a lot of pressure to do so. So what do you think, Kevin? When should the Giants start Jackson Dart?
As soon as humanly possible. Bill Barnwell mentioned understanding Rodgers because he was 41 years old. Listen, I'm in job preservation mode, just like Brian Daboll and Joe Shane. Just trying to get another day out of this gig, okay, guys? That's what Brian Daboll is trying to do this year, and the only way he's going to get an extension or be able to even come back in 2026 is if he has a proof of concept with Jackson Dart this year, where in November and December he goes to ownership and says, I did a good job, we can't start over.
Yeah, it always sounds good, sit the rookie as long as you can, but other than Mahomes, I'm not sure who else has pulled that off in recent memory. Anyway, staying in the NFC East, we will have to tee up a segment called Sound Off, and this is our buddy Harry Douglas talking about Jayden Daniels' place among the best quarterbacks in the NFC.
Well, I think he's the best quarterback in the NFC, period. You talk about a guy who rushed for over 850 yards and 6 touchdowns and only had, 23 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. This is a guy who put a franchise and an organization on his back when they were at their lowest times. It actually gave Washington Commanders fans hope. So now when you look at 2025, Commander fans can walk around loud and proud and talk about their quarterback, talk about their organization.
You agree with Harry?
Harry's right.
Oh,
you want me to expand? Okay, great.
Nice. We got another 45 or so.
Okay. Look at the tape, guys. Look at the tape. Watch it last year and what he's going to be able to do to improve. First of all, the reason that there's not going to be a sophomore slump like with C.J. Stroud last year is that the Commanders understood how to add talent, shore up the offensive line. That's one part of it. Apparently, he's added noticeable muscle in the offseason. Same. And there's still meat on the bone as far as deep passing goes. He was I think not even in the top 25 in deep passing last year, even with all of those numbers. He was one of the best deep passers in the history of college football last year. 2 years ago at LSU, okay? The vertical seam, some of the stuff he was able to do in the middle of the field deep was incredible, unprecedented. We see more of that this year. He takes a step forward into MVP candidacy.
Noticeable muscle is the front runner now for my fantasy football team game this fall. Neek, you see it a little differently than Kevin and Harry do.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's obvious, undeniable. I'm here in D.C., and all the things that Harry said are true. Like, there are Commanders fans in this city, which I would have thought for the past decade that there weren't actually any of them there. They're out now, loud and proud, and it's not in part, it's because of Jayden Daniels. He's incredible. He is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFC, and arguably had the best season last year. But I hate to be the old man here. Can we get a little bit of longevity before we put him ahead of guys like Jalen Hurts, who just won the Super Bowl, Matt Stafford, who was incredible in stretches last year and also has a Super Bowl on his resume, Brock Purdy, who's been awesome since he showed up, Jared Goff, whose team has been probably the best offense in football, or excuse me, the best offense in the NFC over the last few seasons. I mean, it just feels hard. I get the point. If you made me pick one of these quarterbacks to build around, it probably would be Jayden Daniels, but give the man something to work towards. I didn't even mention Dak Prescott. There's a lot of quarterbacks that I think have done a lot already that it's going to require Jayden Daniels to at least put together 2 seasons like that, maybe.
And Dominique just named like 2/3 of the quarterbacks in the NFC. I feel like, we were going to get a Sam Darnold thrown in there at some point.
Well, Danny Dimes in the AFC now, so it's hard to
understandably, yeah. I mean, I would put Brock Purdy here. I feel like Brock Purdy's a guy who, his first year did the same thing Jayden Daniels did, made it to the NFC Championship game, got hurt, unfortunately, but then the next year he was in the Super Bowl. Like, I feel like after 1 year, because the Niners had a bad leadership, we're sort of like forgetting about how good Brock Purdy was. And I know that, he has great playmakers. He has Shannon to work with. That helps, of course. But, Terry McLaurin's a great receiver. Clint Kingsbury did a great job last year. There's pieces around Jayden Daniels as well. So no disrespect to Jayden Daniels. I just think Brock Purdy's done it at least a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to see more than 1 year. I defaulted, as you see, to the guy who just won the Super Bowl. One guy Neek didn't mention is Baker Mayfield's last 2 years have been right near the top of the NFC in terms of performance, and that's 2 years versus 1. So we all love Jayden Daniels, and we're excited to see it again. Maybe not as excited as Harry Douglas. Travis Kelce delivers our next sound off. He was asked if Travis Hunter could eventually be an all-pro on both sides of the ball.
Both sides? See, that's the thing. I don't know how they're going to divvy it out. I don't know if because teams are going to be going after him. Yeah, they're going to try and make his day miserable. If he plays corner, they're going to run deep balls at him all day. They're going to run the wide receivers, just take off on him all day just to try and get his, him tired. Yeah. Like, why wouldn't you just attack him that way?
Neek, I am irrationally excited about Travis Hunter. Convince me he can't be a great full-time player on both sides of the ball.
Well, you're asking the wrong person if you want me to be pessimistic in July. This is the time for optimism. I have faith that he can do it. I would have told you that Shohei Ohtani couldn't do what he did before he did it. I think it's possible. It's certainly almost impossible, but Travis Hunter is one of the best athletes and one of the smartest athletes that we've seen. So I think that's probably, the physical load's going to be challenging, but he's proven that he could handle it in college when there are more plays in a college game. I think the mental part is the part that'll be a big challenge because game planning in the NFL requires a ton of attention to detail throughout the week. So being able to have that much attention to detail on both sides of the ball is going to be tough. But I think Travis Hunter, being all pro on both sides, that feels crazy. But being an effective player on both sides, I think that's definitely possible for Travis Hunter.
You pessimistic in July?
Well, first of all, Barnwell is going to wear that Stone Cold Steve Austin shirt Kelce had on, but we made him change. I am pessimistic only because I just think that it's going to be really hard for him to wear and tear on both sides of the ball. I think his future is 75% on one side of the ball, packages on the other. I think you let him play as much as possible, both sides of the ball, in training camp, preseason, even the early part of this season, to let other teams reveal what he is. Is he a dominant wide receiver? Stick him there. Is he a dominant cornerback? Can he take on wide receivers one? Let's see that revealed. And I think instead of having a plan for him.
Yeah, it feels easier to me to start him at cornerback and see what he can handle at wide receiver, given that that's what he did so well in college. He was really a better cornerback, even though he was a very good wide receiver. And you don't want to reveal your coverages necessarily, don't want to spot him necessarily there. So I think a package at wide receiver to start with makes sense. And then, like you said, he expands him out to the point where you see how well he can do, how well he can handle the speed. I really don't think that, he's going to have trouble covering guys in the NFL. He did it at the college level really well.
Yeah, it'll be fascinating to see. They've done the reverse so far. They started him out on offense, given him a little defense, but we'll see how it plays out. Obviously, very excited about Travis Hunter down there in Jack.